Okay, so let's see. According to this thing, it's 6:52, on Monday, March 14th. That's 6:52. Well, I tell you, I love these cameras. That's a picture of my mom right there. See if I can show you real quick. Yep. Anyway, that's an LG V10. It's taken me a while to get used to it. Anyways, I'm just doing this for giggles. See what happens. And I know my family doesn't like this, but I'm going to get this side and this side braided as soon as it grows out a little bit more. Got a full beard now. Eat your heart out, Molly. I know you love me for it. And you too, Lil. Yeah, look just like, well, half Santa Claus, half not. Okay. Well, not much is going on. I'm here in Yuma, 76 degrees basically. Nice weather, sun goes up, beautiful sunrises, sun goes down, beautiful sunsets. I thought I'd give like a history lesson as to Christianity and how that affects people. I was born June 1st, 1950. My mom had 3 miscarriages. Dr. Maynard put her on a pill, 10 cents a day, for 9 months. I was a financial burden to my parents while I was still being made. And I had a normal childhood. I was an instigator, troublemaker. I could pick a rock and throw it and knock a robin out of the air with a single shot with a rock, just like David and Goliath, pretty much. But I was always in trouble. Dad and I never saw eyeball to eyeball. His dad, Chuck, he was nice. If you would ask me at 10 what I did when I was 9, I'd tell you that I helped build the church, Hillcrest Baptist Church in Elmira, with my grandfather's help. Spent the whole summer. Now Chuck went against his wife's Ann thing by dealing with me. At least that's what I believe happened. And Chuck pretty much became, to me, yeah, I might as well say it, the dad I never had, but I never used him either. Not really. When I was 16, we got a youth director in the church named Wilbur Parrish. I was introduced to him as Wilbur. He got married a woman named Joyce. And he called me into his office one Sunday afternoon and counseled me, telling me that I had to call him Mr. Parrish. Well, I told him in no uncertain terms, I was introduced to you as Wilbur. And Wilbur is what I'm going to call you. Got a problem? Tell somebody that cares, because I don't, because your name's Wilbur. I told my mom that Wilbur took me into his office. Mom went berserk. Went up to Pastor Truex and really raised Cain over Wilbur taking me in there. Well, we ended up going to a youth thing. There must have been 9,000 kids when I was 17 up in just north of Athol, New York, up in the Adirondacks. It was a youth weekend. And I met this girl there named Marie. We hit it off. Hit it off real well. During the last event, we decided to skip it. But we've already advanced to the state of holding on hands and being close to each other. And so we skipped the last event. Went back and sat on the bus. Her on one side, right behind the driver's seat. Me on the other side, right by the door. And we talked. And we exchanged addresses. Well, about that time, Bob Miller stuck his head in the bus and said, "Kids, come on. Get off the bus and go where you're supposed to go. Gene, you know better." So, Marie and I went back to the thing. But we already exchanged addresses, which was a good thing. But we were in there probably, I don't know, 15 minutes just talking. Well, we get back to Hillcrest. Everybody goes home. About an hour later, Dad takes me upstairs and whips me with a Navy belt. Well, I bit the mattress, hung on the mattress in my hand, and I said to myself, I'm not giving in to the bastard this time. No. Well, after a while, I think it was about 15, 16 whacks, and how he liked doing it was pants down, shirt off, you know, leather about the skin. After a while, he quit. After 15, 16 whacks, I rolled over on my back and looked at him in the face. "Are you done?" He came down one more time, got me right down through the center. Turned around and walked out of the room. Well, I composed myself, went in the bathroom, tried to wash my redness out of my face. It didn't work. I still had that red streak going down my face and my chest. Went downstairs, went through the kitchen. My mom sitting at the kitchen table. Mom looked up at me and asked me if I was all right. And I just looked at her and nodded. Mom popped up and asked me if I knew where Dad was. And I looked at her and told her I didn't care. Seems your father's in the bedroom crying that he's lost control of you. Well, I looked at Mom and I said, "Mom, he never had control of me." And I walked out the back door. Well, a couple weeks later, it was on a Sunday, I grew up at Jack's Pool Hall, shooting pool. I left there with the gang. Well, I left there by myself because I got to be at church at 5:30 on Sunday night. I got to leave there about 4:45 and get home, get changed, get to church by 5:30. So I left. As I was leaving the bar, who comes across the railroad tracks? Wilbur Parrish and Joyce. Well, guess who's giving the sermon that night? Good old Wilbur. Well, Wilbur stands up and starts talking about the undisciplined youth of today running around half naked on the Lord's Day, in and out of bars. Well, I grew up, Mom on one side, Dad on the other, because I was the fidgeter. You could always tell what side my dad was on by the black and blue marks on my legs from him pitching and twisting, because I was a fidgeter. And that's how I grew up in church. Mom on one side, Dad on the other. And I stood up and asked Wilbur, "You talking about me?" Well, Wilbur made a statement, and I told him what he could do with Jesus Christ. I told him what he could do with the cross. And I definitely told him what he could do with all the churches everywhere, and with every religion. And I walked out of that church with the solemn oath that I will never step foot on anything relating to God again. And I upheld that. I went home. I got home before everybody else got home. Well, the first person to come into that house that I was raised in was Chuck, my grandfather. He sat in my dad's chair, asked me to turn off the TV. I rolled over and I told him, "No, Grandpa, I'm watching Bonanza, and I know why you're here." I rolled back and watched Bonanza. A few minutes later, Dad and Mom, my brothers and sisters came home. I overheard Chuck tell my dad, "You will not touch my grandson. He's mine responsibility, not yours." And then Grandpa came back into the living room and sat down. And we watched Bonanza. After that, we talked. And yes, it was lengthy talk, probably half hour, 40 minutes. Finally, he told me that he'd pray for me and for me to go out, say good night to the folks, and go get a good night's sleep. I looked at him and started laughing. "You think he's going to let me sleep tonight?" No way. I'd be better off leaving. And Chuck looked at me and said, "No. No. You'll be safer." And he left. I went out to the kitchen, walked up to Mom, gave her a kiss, said good night, looked at Dad, nodded, and went to bed. When I laid in the bed, I overheard the conversation downstairs. Well, mumbling. And somebody came upstairs, went to the bathroom, and went back downstairs. I didn't get to sleep for about 2 hours because I knew I was going to get the belt that night. It never happened. And for 6 months, and during that 6 months was the graduation from high school, all that bizarre crap. Well, 6 months to the day, every Sunday Dad would ask me if I was going to go to church. 6 months later, to the day, Dad looked at me and said, "My house, my rules. You will not be here when I get back." So I left. Went to Penn Yan. Worked at a place called Coaching Equipment. And I lived for me. Started putting the world in my hand. And that's how I lived for 22 and a half years. Got married, a couple kids. Mom would come down to visit. We'd go for a walk. She seen this church. She'd ask me to look inside it. Nope, that's God's property. This is public sidewalk. I'm staying public. I have nothing to do with God. And that was the way it was. Well, after the divorce, I laid in bed one morning and confused. My mind kept going back to Sunday school and the fun I had. So I started going back to Sunday school at the church that my mother used to walk into. And but it was quite interesting. Eventually I got baptized there. My parents came down. My mom gave me my grandmother's Bible. And I remember my grandma Hazel. I was the only sibling that loved my grandmother. My brothers and sister would have nothing to do with her, pretty much. But I did. I used to run away from home and go to Grandma's. And then Grandma would call my mom to let her know that I was there. The only time I didn't get yelled at or spanked or whatever for not knowing where I was during the day, during the summer. So, anyways, I got back in the church. I was home in 92. Came home and Mom took me down to Pennsylvania. Drove into this driveway. On the porch was Chuck and Ann. Well, I went up and I told Chuck, after I gave him a hug and kiss, I didn't like Ann. Ann just sat there. I don't even think I said hi to her. But Chuck was Chuck. And I told him I was back in church. His arms came up, smile from earlobe to earlobe, just like I remember. Well, my Aunt Kathy, a year younger than me, Aunt Kathy asked me to come into the kitchen, get some lemonade. So I went in the kitchen with Kathy. Kathy told me that was the first time that Dad has smiled in over 5 years. I can remember on Saturdays when I used to go to Grandpa's to take out a speedboat that I'd have to eat supper with him on Saturday night. And every Saturday night he'd pray for me. My eyes would be open and I'll see the light. And I'd come back to the good gracious of Jesus Christ. Well, that happened. And I think he made a pact with God to keep him alive until that prayer was answered. I think Chuck did that. I think Chuck made a deal with God, just like my mom did. My mom, I think, made a deal with God that she had that one more thing to tell me before she died. And my close family knows concerning that phone call that my sister interrupted and turned off. And I was there for 6 days. Finally, Sunday morning, I told Mom, she's picking on me, that Mom was picking on me. I want you to turn around and ask Jesus to end this thing today. Well, Matt showed up an hour later. And after we gave each other a hug and brought each other up to date, he asked me how Grandma was. I said she's still with us because she has that one, that one thing is you. Sit down. Matt did. He sat down. And when I asked him about that phone call, he looked over at my sister and Dad. And I put my hand up on his face and turned his face to my face. And I said, I don't care who you step on. I don't care who you hurt. You will tell me. Well, he told me. Debbie grabbed the phone out of Mom's hands and shut the phone off and said, you're not going to talk like that to nobody. Matt told me later in the car that my eyes turned red, every vein popped out. All I wanted to do was kill my sister. As I was standing up, Matt popped up and says, I don't think Grandma's breathing. Instantly, Matt said that I went from pure hate to pure love as I looked at my mom. As I bent over, I knew she was gone. kissed her forehead, raised up, told her to thank Jesus for doing this, and also asked Jesus to take me home shortly. I'm tired. I'm tired of all the drama. That's the only word you can use. Drama. Everybody wants to make up stories, make up lies, make up, just to make themselves look good. Well, it ain't gonna work. Because Monday, when I went to Hillcrest Baptist Church, when I went there in 93, I was home in 93 or 94, I can't remember which year. I was at Hillcrest praying at the altar. My shoes are off because that's holy ground. God showed me where Joshua had to take his shoes off because he was on holy ground. That altar is holy, I take my shoes off. In 94, after Grandpa died, I was on my way walking to the altar barefoot, and I heard a voice, and nobody was in the auditorium. And it was Chuck's voice, Grandpa's voice. It's about time you visited me. Quote unquote. And it was Chuck's voice. I knelt down to pray. I prayed for about 10-15 minutes. That afternoon I told Mom what happened. And Mom believed me. She said sometimes she feels Chuck there. Well, Mom passed away Sunday. Monday, I went to Hillcrest Baptist Church. The pastor was outside putting up screens. He let me inside the church to pray at the altar. Just like I knew was going to happen. Chuck was on my left side, and I felt his arm around me. My mom was on my right side, and I felt her arm around my waist. I stayed there about an hour, talking to them and to Jesus. Now, that's my testimony. But this is reality. Take time to look up my criminal record. Yes. Hardened criminal, hardened criminal. South Carolina. You'll see that I've been charged with contempt of court. If you want to know what the charges is, that's going to cost you money. Because you're going to have to physically go to the court, read what's in the court. Now, according to everybody else that makes that criminal report, their charges are listed. From robbery, to murder, to gunshot, to slapping the police, to slapping their wife, hitting their drunken buddy. You know, their charges are all posted. Mine isn't. Contempt of court. What's the contempt? Simple. I took a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, my son and daughter, from my second marriage to church. Charges were brought against me because my ex married a copy-wappy, Moncks Corner finest, and I was charged for contempt of court because I was in violation of court because I took my children to church, which is a violation of court, because I was court ordered not to pray with my children, not to take my children to church, and definitely not to read the Bible to them. So, talk about fair play. That's what I mean about the drama. I pray that my Lord will have mercy on me and take me home now. So, that's about the size of it. And I'm going to try to upload this thing to YouTube, put it on my Facebook, and see what kind of reaction I get. So we'll see what happens. Have a beautiful day, beautiful weekend, and keep the drama rolling, except leave my name out of it. Thank you, and have a good week. Bye.